Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Ouroboros Express Devlogs. I'm joined once again by my producer, Rachel Lee. Hello, Rachel.
Hello.
This is very much a mid-production vibe. I feel like I'm feeling a little bit worn out.
Yeah. I mean, we're getting near the end, right?
Yeah,
Like
we are.
we're near the end.
We are. We've got just a few more sprints to go. We passed our midway point already. Yeah, it feels very strange. I mean, things are lots and lots of things are happening, which we'll get into. But yeah, just quick refresher on who you are for people maybe joining us for the first time, and we'll get into it.
Sure. My name is Rachel. Most of the time I'm an art teacher, but I am really enjoying my role as lead producer right now because I do like project management. I like supporting people. I like keeping the ducks in a row and things, functioning. So that's what I've been doing now. And yeah, I don't know. That's me.
Totally. By the way, guys, this is like totally understatement of the year. I have to say, Rachel, like working with you has felt so smooth. I've been like almost suspicious because I'm like, it's not going so smoothly. It's going very smoothly indeed.
It's the team. It's the team. They're like, yeah. I feel like the leads, they're killing it. And I said this last time, but yeah, I think they're making me look very good. I think I'm doing things, but I think if this was a team where it's like constantly like, I don't know, having to nag them or not being able to trust them, but the leads, like, you can trust them completely. You should be like, all right, is it your team? Go forth. And I don't have to worry that they're like not staying on top of it because they really, really are.
Yeah.
That's been really cool.
It's been really amazing to see just how on it everyone has been, and there was no doubt in my mind that like people would be, but like life happens. We've got people doing stuff as well. We've got people moving across the country. We've got people changing jobs. Lots of huge life things. So as a volunteer project that can throw a wrench in the works. But everyone has been adapting like incredibly well. I guess that brings me to my first question, which is like, so we're a little bit farther into production, I guess what have you learned basically about being part of this team, and like I guess some things around like being part of a volunteer studio as well.
Yeah, I think the being part of a volunteer studio thing has been really interesting, and I think the way that Smallland Studios handles it is pretty good. So like the fact that actually I'm kind of answering two questions at one time, but I'll just talk about what I'm thinking about first, and then we can circle back if I don't answer the question.
Definitely.
But I think because of it's a volunteer studio and it's people who are in all different time zones, different countries, I think the way that there's at least with the Ouroboros team for the patch, because we have like a limited time there, we have weekly meetings, we have things that like commitments, but we're also like, there's no way that we can pick one time that everybody can do consistently for a period of time that goes over 2 seasons. Like we started in like the summer into the fall, and then the fall into like late autumn. So of course that brings a bunch of changes, and so I think the flexibility, but then communication. So we always record our meeting, like the main meeting that we have, our weekly meeting is recorded. We are writing our reports as if it was like a stand-up meeting of like, here's what we're working on, this is what we're doing next, here's our blockers. And to be able to have the opportunity to communicate those either at the meeting or through writing them out and then communicating it to your lead or to the lead producer or director. I think that works really, really well because it's like structured but also flexible. There's like a framework.
Yes.
There's give.
Yeah.
So that's been cool to like observe how that's working because I think it works pretty well. But I think like biggest challenge wise, I think is the being willing to like make shifts and adjustments. But I think it's been going pretty well. The key, I think, is when people, like the team isn't able to meet their commitment, it's really helpful when they're able to project that that's going to happen, or when they sense that it's starting, that they can communicate early. Like, you know, maybe a big life change, like you're moving or you're sick or whatever. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm coming down with something. I might be out for a couple of days. Like, just being able to say that, so then the team can assess, like, okay, wait, we're waiting on them for this. Let's move it around, or let's ask someone else to do it.
Yeah.
I think is key. And I've observed it happen in the different teams. And I'm like, okay, this is good. It's working.
It's communicating. Yeah. Everyone's
Communication. Yeah, communication.
Everyone's been
key.
incredible
Yeah.
with flexibility and communication. Because, I mean, there's also no point in things being too rigid, because then nobody keeps to it. You know, so what's the point? It has to be a workable structure that helps everybody get set up for success as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I have a question.
Oh yeah.
And this is kind of related, because you were asking, like, what were the challenges, or what was something new or learning? And I was reflecting recently. So when we started the patch, you know, at the beginning, you know, very gung-ho, ready to be involved. And so I would be like checking the Discord every day, all the time, you know, 7 days a week. Wouldn't necessarily be doing anything. I usually don't do much on the weekends, because I try to keep that for time with my husband or with friends.
Yeah.
But I'm still checking, you know, still checking. So I had a question. I definitely am feeling like, oh, we're getting toward the middle, toward the end.
Yeah.
That I'm like, do I need to check less? Or do I need to, you know, where's the balance, right? Because I think if this wasn't a patch, then I would, by the time it got to December, I would have burnt out, you know? What about you? Like, because I know you work as well, right? How do you handle that, like, work-life balance?
Yeah,
or
that's a tricky question.
volunteer life, work balance?
Yeah, I know, that's such a great question. I think, I mean, certainly at the beginning, because we're so concerned with, like, even though we have a lot of returning people from, like, the original iteration of the game, we had quite a few new people, and there's always just a brand new team dynamic when that happens. And so you're naturally just going to be a little bit more like on it with trying to observe how everyone is working together and really communicating a lot of this stuff. Like, we had our kickoff meeting where it talked about our ways of working, for example, and pillars. But yeah, I've been finding as time goes on and people are getting more used to working with each other, there's certainly, like, not too much needed with regards to that, because we all kind of know what the deal is. Everyone knows that we can check in on a team weekly meeting. Everyone's like fallen into a groove.
Yes.
So that and I think this naturally happens with, like, any project. You know, you all start understanding each other and how the leads are going to do things, because the leads are, you know, going to do things in slightly different ways to each other, and their teams are going to do things in slightly different ways. So, like, an immediate one I can think of is the art team working in a 20-day cycle rather than the 2-week sprints that we've got. So I think so. I'm a big believer in front loading work. And I think that's also from my career history as being, like, a marketing sort of, like, automations person. And generally the way you work in that, you know, in those fields, marketing ops, or MOPS, which still cracks me up, MOPS.
Is that what it's called? MOPS?
Yeah, MOPS.
Wow.
Is that, you do a lot of prep work at the beginning, but it's so that you can set up this beautiful automation and it just runs and you just monitor it. And I'm very used to working like that. So I like front loading and a lot of preparation at the beginning. So everyone feels comfortable, and it's just more about, like, monitoring things throughout.
Yeah, that's true. It does feel like it kind of shifted into a monitoring phase.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of kicking back up again, at least for me. Feels like it's kicking back up again, because now we're seeing the end is coming toward us.
Oh,
so
yes.
I'm like, okay, so we got monitoring is good, but also, like, okay, what do we need to do? Do we need to shift some things around or get some additional help as needed? We were just talking about that. So It's a
Yeah.
shift. It's shifting right now.
It's shifting. I think where you naturally have peaks and valleys. I think we were in a bit of a limbo period as well. I mean, I'm sure it doesn't feel this way for the voiceover team. Voiceover team have been
But yeah,
working very, very hard.
they've been doing so much. Their channel's blowing up. Their tasks are like, ticking off, and
Yeah, yeah. But I think it's just that natural thing where because this one team are working away on that stuff, not much else is going on really, because we've already sorted out a lot of like the writing stuff, the narrative stuff, and art is just arting away in the background
they're
as well.
just,
They are,
little
yeah,
bit by little bit getting it done.
yeah. So it's a little bit of like a kind of a just a sort of a. It feels like a quiet period to people who are outside of those teams,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sure voiceover team has been like, what are you talking about? It's not a lull. What do you mean maintenance? This is active.
I did things so good. I mean, I definitely have to shout out Lindsay and Alan. Lindsay is the voiceover producer. Alan is
Yes.
voiceover director.
Yes.
They've been holding recording sessions. I mean, what seems like nearly every day. I look at it sometimes and they're like, oh, there they are doing some recording. Yeah, there's a lot to record as well. I mean, the statistic from the original version of the game, which I'm sure is much more now, is that we had over 50,000 words.
Yeah.
That's a lot of that's a lot of stuff. But I mean, what's really gratifying to see is that the voice actors are like, a lot of them are still just hanging out on the server.
Yeah,
really
it's
nice.
cute. It's nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you guys like being here. Yay. That's so nice. And I think that's the I think that's down to like I guess the culture we have in the server as well. Everyone's so willing to help and helping each other out with resources or even like job listings and what have you as well.
Yeah,
It's very
that's
nice.
true.
It's very nice. Well, how about your own personal development? I'm really curious to know like, what things you've learned in this role, which is like relatively like new to you.
Yeah. Before this role, I had done some like event planning, like casual wise, right? Helping a friend run their wedding, baby showers, what have you. I've done projects, like casual projects. I've handled writing curriculums. Like there's like crossover skills, I think.
Yeah, loads of transferable stuff
Exactly.
there. Yeah.
Writing curriculums, communicating with parents and teachers and administrators, all of these things that I've had to do with my other work. And then like planning projects. So I've done some art commissions previously, some pretty big projects that took like maybe 6 months or a year to get done. And those require like, communication of the project, setting expectations, setting deadlines, exchange of the product, the files, and deciding when things need to get pushed. Can I front load and all that kind of stuff with commissions as well. So it kind of overlapped. But as far as things that I've been learning, I've been learning a lot about more maybe the current professional practices, right? Like sprints. It's not something that I had known much about. My husband in his work has mentioned things like agile and sprints and frustrations with those things sometimes. He's a developer, so sometimes the manager and that doesn't make sense when they're trying to get the work done. But I think it's been helpful hearing the pitfalls, or not pitfalls, the positives and negatives, I guess, of using certain methodologies for project management. I'm just like asking him like, what does this mean, and why wasn't it working for you guys, or how are you using it but you're using it a little bit different so it does work for you guys? Because he does tell me those kind of things too, like, oh, we're using sprints but we kind of have the flexibility, kind of like we do with orgs,
Yeah.
of moving things as needed. It's not necessarily like a set thing because things come up, you
Yeah.
know, or maybe people in charge need things moved around, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
what have you. So learning about kind of the lingo and the different methodologies has been really good, and definitely something that I'm putting on my resume. So now I understand
Great.
agile and understand even like how we have the QA system going on, learning about doing QA, learning about how we're setting up like that ticketing list, which is similar to Jira, right?
Yeah.
So that's another thing, learning about that. So it's like being exposed to people doing things how they're done in, you know, professional world. This is professional, but we're volunteer, right?
Yeah.
So it's giving me exposure to those things that I wouldn't have unless I was actually working in those industries, which I might not be able to if I didn't have exposure. So this
Is
has
a
been
real catch-22.
very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel much more comfortable applying to, even outside of the gaming industry, but applying to project management roles.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Which I have. Fingers
Hey,
crossed, guys.
excellent. No,
But,
I'm so happy to hear that, though.
Yeah. So yeah, it's new opportunities because I think I wouldn't have been able to quantify as well that I have experience, you know, doing these kind of things, because it's a little hard to explain the whole like, well, when I'm teaching, these things are transferable skills, and they're like, are you sure? It sounds like you're just teaching. I'm like, no, you don't understand. It's the same
Also,
part of my
just
brain.
teaching.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, just teaching.
Just teaching.
Come
Just
on.
do that thing. Oh my gosh. Also, like, a lot of people in my family are teachers, so much respect. And also,
Oh, thanks.
this is very, so a very clear reason also why I didn't get into teaching, because like I've seen people be teachers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
teach like after school, so it's like I teach once or twice, or no, I'm sorry, 2 or 3 times a week, working on a semester basis. When I hear about the teachers that are working in the schools, I'm like, I couldn't
Oh my
do it.
goodness, the
I can
patience,
enjoy
yeah.
people's children once a week,
Yeah.
and really enjoy that relationship and building their skills.
Yeah.
But wow,
You're the cool
that
teacher.
many other people's kids for every
Yeah.
single day of the weekday.
Oh boy.
That's a lot. That's
Yeah.
a lot.
It sure is a lot. Yeah. Yeah, it's really funny because like my grandfather, so like I don't think any other country has this. I don't know. So in Singapore, there's a role in schools called a discipline master.
Oh.
Ah, my grandfather was a discipline master
Wow.
at a boys' school. So,
Wow.
yeah, that was but like they loved him so much that like so many of his students kept visiting him. So like I have very clear memories of like all of his past students coming by the house and
Aw.
checking in on him. Is really nice. So like
That's
clearly he made
cute.
an impression.
Yeah,
on
he
them.
did a good job.
He did a real good job. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I have so much respect for teachers, and you know, it's a real lack of imagination. I feel like for anybody to be like, how's that a
How does it
transferable
apply?
skill?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But
for
like
sure.
you say, you got to do what you got to do, and if that means like taking part in a project of some kind to better quantify that, then by all means definitely do it, to everybody watching as well. Like I certainly I feel like doing the work I've been doing for Small Loan has really helped me validate it to myself as well, that
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
capable of game dev, even though I knew it, but it's different when you're like actually doing it and you have something to show for it as well.
Yeah.
And it's no joke as well. You've been a lead producer of a team of 25 or more
I
people.
think so. I mean, maybe closer to, I think 25, maybe closer to 30.
Yeah,
I've
I
lost
have
count a little
feeling.
bit because we added a couple people since the beginning.
So many ducks in a row. And yeah, that's a big deal because you know a lot of the time when people are in game jams, people are used to being in a team of like maybe 5 or 6 people,
Right. Yeah.
2 or 3 people, and to be in a thing where we're going to be releasing the game on Steam and you know going
Yeah.
through the whole process. Absolutely, you have been doing the thing.
Yeah. It's been a very good learning experience. Yeah.
Have you been I mean, looking at any sort of complementary resources during the time that you've been with us as well? Like, has anything like stood out as being particularly helpful to you?
You mean in regards to doing production and like
Yeah, or just like
developing
even
those
game
skills?
dev in
Oh,
general.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I would say within the constraints of when we started the project till now, probably not that much because I've been mostly doing, you know,
Yes. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
besides our chats that we've had a couple times. And when I had a chance to talk to Andrea right before we started to kind of
Yeah.
ask, like, what is the role about? How does it work? And then the chats we've had periodically checking in, am I actually executing on the expectation of the role or not? Like those kind of things.
Yeah.
As far as like aligning to like, okay, am I doing what this role is? As far as like developing skills, I have looked into a little bit like project management resources, certifications, those kind of things, and whether or not they would be something that I'd want to pursue next. So it's on my radar, thinking about it. I think at this point I'm in like a do phase. I am a tend to over research and under execute.
Yeah.
And so this year I've sort of decided like say yes to opportunities and just like do the thing, right?
Yeah.
Make the
Yeah.
game, do the thing, emailed the person, apply to the job,
All the action
make the
verbs.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all of those things. So I have more just been trying to execute and then check in like is this what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think after we're done, then I think I'll shift to the okay, are there resources? What were some things that I felt were lacking that I want to learn more about? That
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
so interesting. I feel like I'm feeling very much the same way. Like I naturally fall into these phases of learning, trying to absorb and then like doing and executing and like you say like doing the thing. And I do feel that like come November, December I'm so ready to just like absorb stuff and do some
Yes.
reading and do some research as well. Yeah, I think
Yes.
it's a really good cadence to be in because like you say, yeah, I definitely am a worrier. I worry a lot, and that also results in a lot of like over research.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
I think, but the really good thing about launching into projects, even if you don't think you're ready, is that it actually helps put a lot of this stuff in context, which is much more helpful. And even if you don't think you did everything to the best of your capacity, or like, you like lacked a lot of knowledge, I think you at least have something to go from as
Yeah.
well, learnings and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Really
that
interesting.
yeah, I think for sure. I try to apply that kind of mindset, or I'm trying to apply that kind of mindset with what I'm doing in my classroom with my kids. I often remind them like they get stuck, right? Trying to make
Yeah.
it perfect and their paper is like disintegrating because they keep erasing and
It's a whole, it's like
so I tried,
transparent.
and
Yeah.
they've been working on it for much too many weeks, and we're like, we gotta get projects done. And I remind them like it's more important that it gets finished than that it's perfect especially because they're at the beginning of their art journey, right? They're
Yeah.
learning the skills. So if they don't finish and move on and like learn from what they think maybe didn't go so well and what could go better next time,
Yeah.
and practice what they need to practice that they couldn't get right in that first drawing, if they don't stop and move on to the next one,
Yeah.
then they won't actually develop very quickly. So finished, not perfect is what we try to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Iteration is really key, definitely. Having a finished project, just in general, is just so useful, especially in the realms of game dev as well, I feel like, because I was going through making a lot of from my time at the narrative department and learning narrative
Right.
design. I had a lot of like writing samples, and I was thinking about, oh, do I make more writing samples? And then it just made way more sense to me to just try and like put things into context in the form of a project.
Right.
Yeah, and I think for people who are like maybe at the beginning of learning how to do game dev, it's like just have tiny complete projects is what I would definitely
Yes.
say to people over and over again. It's the hill I will die on. Like have tiny complete projects. They might not be perfect. It's very much first pancake kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But I think showing that you can complete something to a potential employer is actually really super useful as well, because it shows this level of like follow through and commitment as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel about it? Have you been getting up to a bunch of tiny projects on your own?
Well, speaking of big projects that don't get finished, my whole game dev, journey started last summer when I started my first game. But what I chose as my first game was a point and click adventure game, which is much too complex, I think, for a first game. And I started to learn that it's on the back burner right now. What I don't know about you, but for me, sometimes I get that like, oh, I can't start a new thing because I haven't finished the thing I started. But what I have realized and I'm shifting from is that's a really big project. So it's okay to put it on pause to finish some smaller ones and gain some experience, just like practical, like some programming experience, some writing experience that are short. That'll then help the bigger project go faster when I do get back to it. I don't have the like headspace for it right now, doing the lead production on this project and then helping with art for TGO. But once we wrap the Ouroboros Express patch, I want to shift gears and make some smaller things. Because do I have anything? I don't have anything personal project right now.
And that's a good thing as well. I think it's kind of nice to be at a point where you can be like, okay, I don't have anything on. I have nothing on. That feels really nice for me, actually.
I would say if I wasn't excited about what I'm learning in doing the patch right now, then I think I'd probably be frustrated that I didn't have this like a side project. But because this is basically my side project aside from the teaching, so it's filling that desire to make something. I'm making something. I'm a part of the team,
making something. Definitely. Producers really need more love and recognition. I mean, it's so integral to making sure that all of the very complicated working parts are working together in tandem, aligned to make the bigger thing. Because there's been, I was reflecting and thinking back on production. I was thinking like, oh my gosh, there's so many ways that this could have gone like really extremely wrong if not for the constant like communication of like you and the leads and producers,
Good. I'm glad.
It's definitely, I mean, I think for any actually I took a course earlier this year led by Rami Ismail, who's like a indie dev like legend, and his general rule is that if you have like for every 7 people you need a producer, which I'm believing actually, because it does require the alignment of all these people does require like a single person to put aside a part of their brain to do that,
keep track of it.
Definitely.
I think also having that point person too, like if we have people are discussing something about, I don't know, maybe there's a QA ticket or something, or someone's trying to figure out something with art, to be able to go, okay, Tiago, like, okay, our lead, to be able to do that and have that one person instead of asking the whole narrative team, hey guys, can you speak to this? And then people are, different perspectives or whatever. We need that
Yeah.
one person to be like, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Or they can go, I'm not sure. Let me go talk to the
The
narrative.
next best person. Yeah.
Put it together, then tell, everybody else what the decision is. I think is so helpful.
Yeah, single points
For
of
sure.
communication are really,
Yes.
really useful. Especially, yeah, you're so right. There's the one, sometimes what happens is that you might have like 10 people piling on like with their own different perspectives, or you might have that thing where like nobody like answers because they don't think it's
Right.
directed at them as well, and that's
Like, oh,
also
it's not,
equally
it's not
frustrating.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hello?
that's
guys?
true. It's somebody, but at least we know who to at, and then we know who's not answering.
It's so funny when that happens as well, because sometimes people are like, guys,
Yeah.
Hello?
Guys. Yeah.
Yeah, this one.
But it's also hard because it's an international team, right?
Oh yeah,
So
some people
sometimes you
might
don't
not
know.
even be awake.
You don't know if they just didn't see it or if they're like asleep and you have to wait 8 hours or something, depending on where you are in the world. So it's funny. But yeah, I think it
Yeah.
helps having leads and producers to be that like point people. That helps.
Totally. That's one thing I learned really early on as well. It's like you have to tag someone specifically if you have especially if you have like a pretty time sensitive query as well. Otherwise, like it's just gonna be that thing where people are like, well, it's not me. It's not me.
Right. It's like, oh, someone else will take it. Yeah, it helps to tag that person directly.
Yeah.
I like the little like CC. Sometimes we'll do that in the discourse, like a conversation, but then they'll add like they'll tag the other people who might need to know.
Yes.
I think is also helpful because then they know, okay, I'm just supposed to monitor. I don't need to
Mm-hmm.
answer right now, but I can without overstepping because I've been invited to like participate, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful. Communication. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know. It's a whole skill.
The theme of the chat today.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it really is the theme of today. Is there anything from your experience of being at Smallone that you think you could quite easily pluck and apply to other projects or like other things that you're gonna work on in the future?
Yeah. I do really like doing the sprints. That's been good. I could see myself applying it to my personal game project as well, instead of just having that list, right? Kanban, is that right? Is that what it's called?
Kanban, yeah.
Instead of just having like one list, like get it done, to
It's
be able to say
overwhelming.
like, okay, this is getting done within this period, and this is getting done within this period. I think I think that's really helpful, and it like clicks with my brain. I think that's good. I would use that again. And I think the way that we've just overall been using the Notion, I think has been working really well. And these are like project management tool kind of things, but I think those are some of the main things I would take away or take with me to other projects. I do think having that network, like I appreciate that now I have a network of people that I trust to be able to get their work done, that if I did have a project or if someone's looking to hire someone, like I would know who to refer them to, because I'm like, oh, now I've got these like 20, 30 people who I'm like, oh, I work with them. Very reliable. They do their work really, like what they do really well.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, I have people that I can refer to other people. Yay.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good point though. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like, you have friends, but then you have friends that you love very dearly and would obviously like go out for tea with, but not want to work with.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, I know that I can work with these people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true. When I might be on a tangent, I'm not sure. When I went to the GDC in San Francisco, the beginning of the year, and that was my first like say yes, big say yes that I did for game development. But when I was there, I was just there to network primarily. And many of the people in the speed networking were recently graduated or recently switched or looking to change careers. And I hadn't had an opportunity to work with them, but some of them, just from meeting them, I'm like, I really want to help, but I don't know anybody who knows anybody. But now I know people who know people. So it's just nice to know that I have some of those friends or folks that I met at GDC that I'm still in contact with, that if there's opportunities, I can bring opportunities for them too, perhaps, which would be cool, and vice versa, like Oryx people, I'm like, oh, you're doing this, or you have experience in this. Would you be willing to have a chat with this person I met at GDC who's asking questions? That would be amazing. So I just like helping people in that way, and I like that, being able to bring that out of the project, or take away with me from the project.
I love connecting people in that way as well, because I really don't believe game dev is a zero-sum game. Like I feel like there's just so many possibilities out there for people, and we're all very unique in terms of our skill sets and what we can bring to the table, very clearly. And it's really nice to have a bunch of people I can like personally vouch for, because I've seen their work, and it's very tangible. And their work ethic as well. There's some people I would, and there's even like, now I have this bank of people where I'm like, oh, I really want to hold on to them for like any future projects I'm gonna do as well. Selfishly. Yeah.
Oh, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So I know when the Smallland Studios' current game, The Toongast of Oakshaw, began, and you were like, I can help with advising. I'm just here to watch and to help if you need feedback, but I can't participate. Is that because you were getting ready for the Oryx patch? Or is that because you're not ready to get involved in a new game from scratch?
Oh, that's a great question. I think at the time I was also very much in my learning phase as well. And I think I was just like, I don't think I'm in the headspace to like be all in on this particular project. And I think the thought of working on the patch was still a little bit misty for me as well. I didn't really know, but I knew like there might have been a possibility. So I think I was also like saving my energy for maybe when that would happen. And then what confirmed it for me was that so there's this initiative here in the UK called the Limit Break Mentorship. And you can apply, and it basically you join this pool of people who get access to games industry professionals in the UK. And I was very lucky that I managed to get a really good mentor, and he advised me to, as a narrative designer, somebody looking to build out my narrative design portfolio, that it was really useful to have a voiced project.
I see. Cool.
Yes. So I was like, oh, that feels really like super tangible. I already have like something that I would love to work on a bit more and add voice to. So that's what became the patch.
Cool. The origin story.
The origin story. Yeah,
Cool.
I don't think I've actually spoken about it like properly, but that's the origin story of the patch, or 2.0. So it's, I think the thing that I'm learning this year is not so much saying no to other people, but it's sort of like getting a good gauge of like what my capacity is and how much I can commit to a particular project. And giving myself like an out if I can't like commit to something, as well, because I'm sure all of us would love to commit to absolutely everything our friends are working on, but for me it's like I want to make sure that whatever I'm part of, I want to do a good job.
For sure. How did you feel when I forget who it was, but someone, like, once the voice clips were starting to get implemented for the first scene of the game, and then I forget who it was, but they posted like a little video of like I think it was Vivi talking, and it was like, how did you feel when you first saw the voiceover in the game?
Oh my gosh, I mean, so like that was like a little snippet, and I was like, oh my god, she has a voice, it's so real. I'm so,
and it fits her so well. I was like,
really
this
does.
is her.
I mean, Alison, who is our Vivi, Alison Fraser, oh my gosh, talk about when I we had so many good auditions, but when I heard her audition, I was like, that's Vivi. you know,
Mm.
you know, that's
Cool.
her. Yeah. So it was, yeah, it was very cool. And we also have our dear talent Sean as well. I don't know, have you heard his Urshu
Not yet.
yet?
Not
Not yet.
yet.
Okay.
No.
So when I heard his audition, I was like, okay, he's gonna kill it. And
Mhm.
true to form, he really, really has been doing such a good job.
Nice.
I think actually, personally, one of the things that I'm taking away from this production is I'm being very inspired by everyone's commitment to hone their skills and hone their craft.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is, obviously, like watching you and like, basically take on this kind of like brand new thing for you, like
Hmm.
being a lead producer.
Yeah.
But also like Sean, for example, like he's very committed to being a voice actor. He's an
Hmm.
actor first. And he has gone through training. He has like a really,
Cool.
yeah, headspace for like approaching voice acting. And I feel very lucky that like our voice actors have joined us, because I'm like, oh man, you guys are all so talented and really good at what you do.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I could say the same for everybody in our team.
Hmm.
Truly, it's very cool. I mean, one nice thing that I've been trying to do is celebrate the wins from each of our sprints as well.
Right.
How's that been for you to like take a look at all of the wins I
Yeah.
collate every sprint?
Yeah, it's always fun. It's always
Mm-hmm.
cute. And I feel like you're pretty good at catching like the big wins.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm glad you're doing it because I might not be able to remember everything. All the sprints, we were going in sprints, but I'm just like, I don't know what's going on.
We're Naruto.
I'm
running
looking
straight to
forward.
production.
I'm moving
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah, you're like, wait, I'm not in the past anymore.
Yeah, we got
We don't-
stuff, obviously so much has gotten done. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's nice like seeing what you're remembering or realizing has gotten done and
Mhm.
shouting out that like obviously the voiceover people like Lindsay and Alan have been like
Mhm.
amazing.
It's
So it's
very
cool,
cool.
yeah, to see.
It's very cool. I mean,
Yeah.
also, I will say, I do want to shed a bit of transparency on maybe something that is like, oh, that is the problem. And to tell you the truth, I still don't know what the answer to this is. But we had like, even despite all of our like really great communication, we had this weird problem where we're like doing, so we have our voiceover recording sessions. And then we have QA going on because you can't not do QA. But then QA are picking up naturally because it's a visual novel on like maybe some quirks in the dialogue. So
Mm-hmm.
then some of the dialogue has to be changed, and then that has to be fed back to VO for them to re-record some lines.
Mm-hmm.
And because there's a lot of content in the game, there's only so much that people can pick up at any one time. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm like, oh my god, how do we solve that even? Because we can't stop VO and we can't stop QA. And so it's just going
Mm-hmm.
to be like this cycle of like some things are just going to always be wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it's just like quirks like that. I'm actually really thankful that like we have the context of working in Oryx to like find that stuff out rather
Mm-hmm.
than in a commercial environment. Like first of all,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it
Yeah.
does help. There was a ticket that I had put in many rounds ago
Mhm.
that there was dialogue, and I was like, oh, it feels so weird.
Mm.
I don't know about that phrasing.
Yeah.
But when it was recorded,
Mhm.
the actor made it make sense. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So they ran the line.
Ooh.
So this
yeah.
is the feedback that I got, that they ran the line and that it actually felt fine and it wasn't weird. And so we were able to say, okay, don't worry about that one.
Oh.
Because it was good.
Wow.
So that was great. So I think
Oh.
also sometimes with those kind of tickets are like, okay, when you're reading it or even saying it aloud, maybe if someone else reads it and interprets it different, they can make it make sense with the personality of the character. So that
Yeah.
was really nice because then it didn't end up having to change anything, because I think it was even too late anyway. Like that line had been recorded. So it was
Yeah.
really helpful. I forget who, but someone in the narrative team was like, okay, we recorded this. It sounds good. So we're good. And I'm like, oh, great. Perfect. Yes, move on. Yeah.
Oh wow, what a treat!
But
Yeah.
I know also, I think in directing, Alan has noticed things that maybe needed to shift. And I think for the most part, there was good communication from the narrative being like to the voiceover. I saw a couple of, hey, you know, when we were recording, this was a little rough. We changed it to this. You know, we recorded it. If that's okay, let us know. We'll record it again later. But most of their changes looked really solid. So I'm glad that the voiceover direction felt confident to like make the changes as needed if they're slight, as long as everybody knows. But yeah, it does get a little complicated when you have multiple things happening.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Same with art. We had, you know, multiple artists and they're taking on different parts of different tasks. So you'll have, you know, might get to a place where someone's waiting to like do what they need to do, but they got to wait for someone else to do what they need to do. So that's another thing that can be complicated. And we're addressing now, trying to figure out, do we need to shuffle things around, bring more people in, shift it, or adjust what we're doing, you know, that kind of stuff. So
yeah, man, there's a lot of thinking going on. It's no wonder by the time we get to the end of the week we're like, okay okay guys, how's everyone doing? It's cool, but it's really nice to still making time for things like we're gonna have our first team hangout, both of the devs and the voice actors on Saturday. Very cute. We're gonna be playing through the build with the voices in for the first time, so I think that's exciting for everybody to experience. And I would definitely recommend that, like, you know, people out there doing your own projects, game dev projects and stuff, definitely celebrate the wins together, because that's how you keep the motivation and the momentum running, especially when everyone's feeling a little bit like worn out mid-production. You know, having to juggle other things as well, and you know, it's just hard. The game dev is hard.
For sure. Indeed.
For sure. Well, I'm going to end our little check-in here, because this feels like definitely like a director producer checking in, see how we're doing. But I am very, it looks, the end is very close indeed. Not ominously, in a good way. The end is very, very close indeed. And, you know, I just wanted to thank everybody who's been watching along with these devlogs, listening into the behind the scenes. And Rachel, I just feel like I really need to call you out for being just so excellent to work with. It's been very smooth indeed.
Thank you.
I really hope we get to work together on something else in future.
That would be very cool.
That would be amazing. But for now, thank you, passengers. We'll see us very, very soon on another voiceover production themed episode in the near future. Very exciting. But for now, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.